That's Margygr. She was already dead when we found her in the Arctic. Some other Titan messed her up pretty good.
Margygr is the name of the Titan whose lifeless corpse has been the topic of many conversations amongst fans of the MonsterVerse. This mysterious concept art has stemmed all sorts of theories and ideas, but in this video, we are going to do the best investigating we can to find the true killer of this colossal sea beast. Did Rodan attempt to prove himself by killing this monster? Was Ghidorah confronted by this beast while on his search for the Hollow Earth? Or is our champion Godzilla just a cold-blooded killer? Let's get to it. Titanus Margygr, a truly strange-looking titan, with an elongated body that was about the size of a blue whale. This reptilian-like titan had a flat, almost ape-like face. A face that was painfully burned clean off, and we will get to more on that in a bit. The name itself comes from Old Norse mythology, from a specific variety of mermaid who swam the frigid waters of the Arctic Ocean. The same place where this MonsterVerse's Titan corpse was found. The location of the Titan's body, combined with its female, sea-based biology, led to the beast receiving the ancient mermaid's name from the experts at Monarch, back to the beast's missing face. The quote from the book version of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, stated that the corpse showed clear evidence of brutal burns all over the creature's body. And when we look at the art here, upon closer examination, we can see that the face of this creature has been burned completely off. Clearly, this was the final fatality strike that killed this Titan, a trait that many of the Titans love.
Fatality!
The scaly flesh ends abruptly at the face where you can see the skull of Margygr. Pink flesh still remains where the burn subsided, meaning that something burned this Titan's face so intensely that all the flesh from the face is completely gone. When Monarch found her dead body frozen in the Arctic, they somehow managed to drag the entire body all the way to their underwater base that we saw in King of the Monsters, in order to study the beast and learn more about the Titans waking all over the Earth. So who was the killer? There is always the chance that it could have been an unidentified Titan, but let's try and see if any of the known Titans are the culprit. Out of all the Titans, not many have an attack that is capable of burning the flesh off of another of their kind. Most have a simple array of physical attacks, with only the Super Titans having more devastating elemental powers that could deliver such damage. Therefore, only 4 known Titans could have been the one who killed Margygr: Rodan, Ghidorah, Godzilla, and Tiamat. Before we start, the fact that Margygr's body was frozen leaves open the possibility that this body could have been sitting there for thousands of years or more. So even though all the Titans have been in deep slumber for a very long time, save for Godzilla, that doesn't mean that Margygr wasn't killed by one of them in the past. Let's start with Rodan. The fire demon seems to be the perfect candidate for an attacker who burned Margygr to death. Rodan is capable of shooting out fireballs hot enough to melt buildings. We see this fireball attack during a scene in King of the Monsters where Rodan and Ghidorah are attacking Washington, D.C. Take a look there in the distance. And this attack would surely be able to melt the flesh off of another Titan's face. But there's one massive problem here. Titanus Margygr appears to be a Titan who is incapable of coming on land due to its whale-like body. That would mean that the monster would have had to have been very much near the surface of the water in order for the attack to do that kind of damage. And unless the monster was frozen in place, it's unlikely that it would just sit there long enough for Rodan to shoot a fireball on its face while flying in the air. There's no way Rodan would be okay with taking a swim, and therefore he's unlikely to be our killer. The sea serpent goddess of the sea could be a likely killer. Outside of Godzilla, there is no known Titan who could challenge her in the water. We already have evidence that Tiamat is a brutal killer, due to the endless corpses that lie around her lair seen in Godzilla Dominion. But does she have the ability to melt a Titan's face off? Based on her attacks shown in Dominion, it doesn't appear that she has any sort of flesh-burning attack. So even though it's very likely Tiamat could have killed Margygr in terms of prowess in the oceans, the evidence doesn't support her as the killer. The devil with 3 heads, with his mighty gravity beams and lust for death and destruction, could be our killer. The beams have been shown to do insane levels of damage and even put Godzilla flat on his ass. The electric nature of the beams means they are insanely hot. Lightning strikes are estimated to be 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, more than enough to burn the flesh off all the way to the bone. In the lore, there is also evidence to support Ghidorah as the killer, in his search for the Hollow Earth. Ghidorah was eventually locked in his icy tomb down in Antarctica. But that doesn't mean that before this, the monster did not attempt to find an entrance at the other pole, up in the Arctic, where Margygr's dead body was found. Maybe this monster confronted Ghidorah here, but there is one massive issue with this theory. Ghidorah is awful in the water as a fighter. We saw Godzilla easily whoop up on the three-headed dragon when he got the monster in the ocean. And while Margygr is certainly no G-Man, it appears like any of the water titans would have been able to at least hold their own with Monster Zero in this environment. So just like Rodan, Ghidorah would avoid a fight in the water and focus on striking from the air. And once again, this doesn't add up to delivering such a dramatic level of burns to Margygr's body. So that means the killer can only be one titan, Godzilla. The big G-Man is insanely territorial, a master at sea combat, ready to fight anyone and anything at any moment's notice. And above all else, has his atomic blast, of which we know is more than capable of melting the flesh off another titan in a matter of seconds. Out of all the ancient titans, Godzilla is also the most active. It's completely in his character to swim up to the Arctic, kill Margygr, and then continue on with his day. Why he would attack this monster though is debatable. Perhaps she was a destroyer titan who was throwing the balance of the planet out of whack. Maybe Godzilla simply didn't want another titan attempting to claim the Arctic for its own. Or maybe she wanted to challenge Godzilla for the sake of hierarchy status. Godzilla's history supports that he doesn't kill for the sheer pleasure of it. Most of the time, his goal is to just defeat, not kill. We only see him end a life when the individual really deserves it. So this gives us evidence to support that Margygr wasn't exactly a friendly titan. One last bit of evidence to really support Godzilla as the killer is the focus of the fatal attack. Godzilla loves to finish his enemies using some sort of fatal strike to the head or neck area. Female Muto got the kiss of death. The Muto Prime had its head stomped in by Godzilla's massive feet. He ripped Kevin's head off in the water, and then at the end ate Ghidorah's still alive head and then blasted what was left of it into oblivion. And then again in Godzilla Dominion, he stomped Tiamat's head but stopped before killing the serpent as a sign of respect. So in the lore, Godzilla loves to attack the head. We've seen it time and time again. While Rodan and Ghidorah could have performed a kill similar to this, their ineptness in the water leads to Godzilla being the killer. During their battle, perhaps Margygr was giving Godzilla somewhat of a challenge, which left the G-Man to only having one option left. To use his atomic blast to inflict massive crippling burning damage to Margygr's body, as she floated in the water stunned from the pain of the atomic blast that struck her flank. The G-Man lunges out towards her, puts his clawed hands on each side of the monster's massive head, and then holds her in place while he delivers a blast of atomic energy, as hot as the core of the sun, directly into the beast's face. In seconds, all that is left of the head of Margygr was a lifeless skull. So do you think Godzilla killed Margygr? Let us know down in the comments. It's definitely in his nature to be a cold-blooded killer. Subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already. This has been Jacob. Thank you all for your time, and I will see you in the next one.